Europe is home to many amazing castles, each from different times and styles. There's the fairy tale castle in Germany that inspired Disney's Sleeping Beauty, and the spooky castle in Romania that's linked to Dracula. These castles are full of mystery and legends, and people have been fascinated by them for hundreds of years. They are found in mountains, on hills, and beside lakes, making them some of the best castles in Europe. Starting off at number 10, Kronborg is Denmark's most famous castle, and it's famous for being the setting of Shakespeare's play Hamlet. It is one of the best Renaissance castles in Northern Europe. The castle has been built, burned down, and rebuilt many times since 1420. It is in an important spot at the head of the Risund Sound, where it looks out over the Baltic Sea. The castle is at the narrowest point between Denmark and Sweden. It is special because it has walls shaped like a star. Over the years, the castle has been used as a royal home, a prison, and even a military base. But Kronborg Castle isn't just fancy. Down in the basement, there's a statue of a sleeping warrior named Holger Dansk. Legends say he'll wake up and protect Denmark if the country is ever in danger. Today, it is a museum and the home of the Shakespeare Festival, which usually happens every summer. Moving on to number 9, a short drive west of Stockholm, you'll find the beautiful Lake Mälaren and the small town of Mariefred. In this town is the amazing Gripsholm Castle. It was built in 1537 by Gustav Vasa, who was the king of Sweden at that time. The castle was used as a royal home by Swedish kings and queens until the 1700s. Now it's being used as a museum. Inside, you can see lots of old furniture and decorations. It's also home to the Swedish National Portrait Collection. This collection has pictures of important Swedes, from King Gustav Vasa to Benny Andersson, who was part of the famous band ABBA. Gripsholm Castle is also close to Herthagen, a nature reserve where you can find the royal deer. But there's something even more unusual about the castle. It has a very famous stuffed lion called the Lion of Gripsholm Castle. This lion is famous for its comical appearance. Here's the story. In 1731, King Frederick I was given a real lion as a gift by the Bey of Algiers. When the lion died, a taxidermist was asked to stuff it and put it on display. But there was one big problem: the taxidermist had never seen a real lion before. That's why the lion ended up looking so strange. Heading over to number 8, Arava Castle is built on a tall, rocky hill, so it looks like it's floating in the sky. Some people even call it the Eagle's Nest because of how high it is. Like many castles in Slovakia, it was built in the 1200s where an old medieval fortress used to stand. Over the years, it was home to rich and powerful people like nobles and county leaders. The castle also protected an important road to Poland and was used as a military center for the area. In 1800, a big fire badly damaged the castle. It wasn't fixed until after World War II, when people worked hard to restore it and save it from falling apart. The castle has a staggering 754 stairs and 154 rooms. The different parts of the castle are connected by gates, tunnels, and underground passageways. Visitors can also explore the area around the castle by riding the Arava Forest Railway. This is a special type of train called a narrow-gauge switchback railway. A narrow-gauge switchback railway is a special type of train track system that is narrower than regular railway tracks, usually built in areas where the terrain is steep or difficult to cross. The narrower width makes it easier and cheaper to construct tracks in mountainous or forested areas. And there aren't many like it still running today. Now we continue with number 7, De Haar Castle in Utrecht, the biggest and most luxurious castle in the Netherlands. It has been mentioned in history books since 1391. The castle we see today was rebuilt in 1892. Etienne van Zylen van Nijvelt, who is also a founding member of the Automobile Club de France, inherited the old, falling-apart castle and spent 20 years fixing it with help from his wife's family, the Rothschilds, and the famous architect Pierre Cuypers, who also designed Amsterdam's Central Station, which is an important symbol of the city. The inside of De Haar Castle is decorated with beautiful wood carvings, which are similar to the Roman Catholic designs of that time. The castle has 200 rooms and 30 bathrooms. Inside, there are items from the Rothschild family's collection, like porcelain from Japan and China, as well as Flemish tapestries and paintings. The castle is in a lovely park with perfectly planned gardens. The Har Castle has hosted some very famous guests. Celebrities like Coco Chanel and even members of royal families stayed here for fancy parties. Heading over to number 6, Chillon Castle is one of the most popular historic places in Switzerland. It sits right on the edge of Lake Geneva, surrounded by mountains. The castle is very old, dating back to the 11th century. Starting in the 1200s, it was the summer home for the Counts of Savoy. Later in the 16th century, it became a prison, though people had already been kept there as prisoners since the 13th century. The prison had a bad reputation. One of its most famous prisoners was François de Bonneverde. Bonneverde was a strong supporter of the Protestant Reformation, a movement that aimed to reform the Catholic Church and had gained traction in Geneva. This stance put him in conflict with the Duke of Savoy, who controlled the region and wanted Geneva to remain under Catholic rule. Lord Byron wrote a famous poem called The Prisoner of Chillon about him. In the poem, Bonneverde is described as a devout scholar who was punished for his Protestant beliefs. According to the poem, he was chained to a pillar and stayed in the prison for 6 years. But in reality, he was only there for 6 months. Coming in at number 5, Predjama Castle is a castle in Slovenia that's built right into the mouth of a cave. The name Predjama means in front of the cave. It's so well hidden in the rock that it's hard to tell where the cliff ends and the castle begins. This amazing castle was built in the 13th century and sticks out from a huge cliff that's 404 feet or 123 meters high. People even say it inspired George R.R. Martin, the writer of the books that became the TV show Game of Thrones. The Guinness World Records says it's the biggest cave castle in the world. Inside, there are lots of medieval-style rooms, and underneath the castle is a big network of caves. A long time ago, in the 15th century, a knight named Erasmus of Lug lived there. He used the cave tunnels to sneak out, steal from the rich, and give to the poor, kind of like Robin Hood. But one day, a servant betrayed him, and that's how he died. Now at number 4, Prague Castle isn't just any castle. It's one of the biggest castles in the world. It covers a huge area of about 750,000 square feet or 69,677 square meters, which is as long as 7 football fields. Inside, you'll find the Gothic-style St. Vitus Cathedral and a few other churches too. The castle has been around since the 9th century, and it's like a giant history book for architecture from the past 1,000 years. No wonder it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The castle is full of beautiful rooms and halls with fancy decorations. There are big fireplaces, priceless paintings, and lots of Rococo-style details. One of the coolest rooms is the Rudolph Gallery. It has giant arches, shiny chandeliers, and mirrors everywhere. It was first built in the 16th century, but the fancy stucco designs you see today were added later in the 19th century. Heading over to number 3, Pina Palace might be called a palace, but it's really a castle, and not many are as stunning as Pina Palace. Its bright yellow towers and red walls rise above the trees in the hills of Sintra, just outside Lisbon. This colorful and amazing castle is an example of 19th century Romantic style. It was ordered to be built by King Ferdinand II and finished in 1854. Over the years, it has been home to Portuguese kings and queens. The outside and gardens are like something out of a storybook, with tiny gargoyles and secret paths that wind through the forest. The inside is just as fancy as the fairy tale outside. For example, the dining room and the pantry next to it have curved ceilings and walls covered with super detailed tiles. It also houses many interesting statues, like the Triton, which is a half-man, half-fish. Bran Castle is one of the creepiest castles you can find. It's a medieval fortress in Transylvania that people call Dracula's Castle. Even though Bram Stoker, the guy who wrote Dracula, never visited Romania, the castle is still linked to the famous vampire. Today, Bran Castle has spooky towers and sits on a hill, looking both scary and amazing. Inside, it shows off furniture and things that belonged to Romania's Queen Maria from a long time ago. In 2016, 2 fans of vampires won a contest on Airbnb and got to be the first people to sleep overnight in the castle. The siblings from Canada spent the night in coffins lined with velvet. Some people might have been scared for them, but they made it through the night just fine. Finally, at number 1, King Ludwig II of Bavaria built Neuschwanstein Castle in the 1800s as a special place to get away from the public. Sitting on top of a hill, the castle looks beautiful, and not many other castles look as amazing as this one, which makes it one of the most famous castles in Europe. Its magical towers and turrets look like something out of a fairy tale, which is probably why Neuschwanstein Castle served as inspiration for Walt Disney when he was creating the iconic Sleeping Beauty Castle in California. Today, the connection between the two castles makes both even more magical. Even though it looks really old-fashioned, Neuschwanstein Castle was very modern for its time. It had central heating and even a telephone. Inside, you can see how King Ludwig wanted to escape into a magical world. He loved the operas of a German composer named Richard Wagner. A lot of the art inside the castle shows kings, poets, and knights from Wagner's operas. Which of these castles do you want to visit? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.